Hey everyone, it's Rose May, and you're watching Pardon Love, helping you become the very best that you can be. And this evening, I am here with Bryan. How are you?
I'm great. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, and you?
I'm good. It's a little nippy, but I'm fine.
Okay, very well. So, Bryan, you shared with me that one of the hardest things you've been through was having to face having a job that didn't pay as much as you would have liked, you know, below minimum wage, and then having to live on that for quite some time until you could straighten out the situation. How did that make you feel? How did you feel at first when you were told that you didn't have much of an option?
Well, what happened was I got laid off from the job I was at. Our whole department got laid off.
Okay.
And I had to find another job. I wound up getting another job through my uncle. And at this job, the pay was fine, but it was the only job I could find at the time. So I was kind of in the situation where I needed this job.
You needed some kind of income.
Job. I was living on my own, you know, not that my options were nil, but, you know, you need to make ends meet the way you can. And this job was not unionized. And that's happens with a lot of our people. Sometimes we're stuck at the job we're at. We're stuck in the situation at the station we're in, and it feels like it'll be forever. And sometimes it's only something that's temporary that we can't get out of. And what happened was this job cut our pay, no questions asked, take it or leave it. If you don't accept this, we'll get someone in here who will take it. This job was paying us about 5-6 years ago, so this might have been a little more money than it is now, but it was about $10 an hour. They cut us to below minimum wage. So I went from, at the beginning of the month, making whatever I was making to getting every day about $4 taken out my pocket an hour.
So now you were making $6 an hour.
Yeah, about $7 an hour. Yeah.
And this was in Philadelphia.
This was in Philly.
Okay.
This was in Philly, and yeah, it was just rough because it was nothing else anyone could do. I thankfully didn't have kids, but you know, it was just watching all the despair other people were going through because people had multiple kids. People had different situations than me. I was not as unfortunate as everyone else. But what wound up happening was we started working to get a union. We started working. This is one job that I've worked at where I've helped brought in a union. But we worked to get a union, and then, you know, there's those politics. They start threatening you. If you find out you're signing your name on a piece of paper to try and get a union, the company and the people at higher ups, they start coming in and telling people, you know, well, if we find out this, you'll lose your job. So now, not only are they taking your pay, they're bullying you. They're putting their foot on your neck. So,
wow.
You know, it just becomes a point where you really tap into your resource. You fill out your best resources yourself. It's a thing where, you know, you find out that your station in life now will not be where you end up. And, you know, you got to find out exactly who can help you, who's there to help you explain your situation. It's embarrassing a lot of times, too, because a lot of times we don't like to tell people how much we make it, especially if we're not making what we want to make. But if you're making under minimum wage, just like, and you're grown, you're living on your own.
And you were 20...
At this time, I was 23, 24.
You were 23 at the time. Okay, and you were living on your own.
Yeah, it was bad.
Wow. So how were you able to make ends meet on minimum wage? And you were in a position where you had to keep the job because you didn't have any other job options at the time.
Well, I always had like multiple things I was doing. I actually perform. I do comedy. So I just had
so
to
you did
double
comedy
up.
at the time.
Well, I've been doing comedy. This was a job I was doing in between this was my day job. So this wasn't my career.
Okay.
So I had other things to supplement my income, as well as like just little things here and there, as well as the fact that you know, I became very good at saving money. I became very good at saving money. I became I had to find different ways to save money. I had to pinch pennies in ways I didn't think I ever had to. My parents understood. That's a big thing, and everybody doesn't have that, but you know, tap your resources is really and you are your best resource. You are as witty, you can live on your wits if you need to. Don't let people think that you can't. If you think that you can't do it, it's also just a matter of knowing that this isn't going to be the thing that drowns you. If you get your nose up, if you can just get your nose up for a couple seconds, you can breathe. And I just had to find breathing room for, I'd say about 7-8 months. It was just like, all right, I don't even know what I'm going to do with this $20, but I need to make this thing last. It
So
was
as
bad.
far as food, paying rent, it was very hard.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was easy before, but this was just
Really
another
hard.
thing. And a lot of times things can stack up. And when they stack up, you're just like left with this feeling like, okay, this is never going to stop. This is just what's going to happen. And
How long were you in this situation, getting very minimum wage and having to work really hard to make ends meet? How long were you in that situation?
I say about 7 months.
7 months?
Well, 7 months of working with the union to put pressure on our job and
Yes.
the city of Philadelphia in general. That was like a 7-month process, and it was hard, because people don't want to join. And the thing is, it's strength in numbers with that. So, if everyone at the job doesn't show up to the meeting, we're not going to get these people to see that we're serious and that they need to change. So
So the whole point of you organizing to get everyone together at this job that was paying everyone less than minimum wage, the whole point of you organizing everyone and to get a union in was so that you can get the pay, the more pay and the pay that you deserve for the work that you're doing. That was the point.
and to get everyone better
to get paid more.
conditions at the job, so that
And better job
stuff,
conditions. Okay. All right. Did you manage to get everyone together successfully?
Not everyone, but what wound up happening was eventually we got some people in the media on our side. We got other people working at different parts of the same company to join. And what wound up happening was it went eventually. This is one of the jobs that's happening. This is 2 jobs I've had this happen to, where it went to city council, and we got to city council, and there was a big thing about living wages and making sure that people are being paid. What minimum wage is the minimum amount that someone can live on and pay their bills.
And you were at the time getting less than the minimum amount.
I don't remember exactly what it is now, but this is around the time where we were talking about raising minimum wage across the United
Like
States.
2012.
So, yeah, around that time. So it was about less than or right at. And I think it was minimum wage. I could be wrong, but we'll just say that. And this was about getting at least above the line or raising the line. And it was a tough time because a lot of people are skeptical. A lot of people are scared. They don't want their name or face involved. They don't want anything to do with it. They just came here to work. This is just a job for them, like it was just a job for me. And got another train.
Another train.
It's busy. It's 5 o'clock. People come home. So all of that was all of it happening at once. The uncertainty, but one of the things that happened was you just need to make sure that people in your life and people that you have, you can tap them, and there's just things that you're doing as well that you can be dependent on yourself if something happens. So, if you have a craft, figure out how to dig into
Or
that craft. A side job. If you have
what they would say a side hustle.
DIY is so big for our generation
Do it
now.
yourself.
Yeah, DIY, do it yourself is big because you just need to be able to not let someone tell you, all right, you're not going to be able to feed yourself anymore because whatever reason we came up, the company didn't care. The company wasn't even probably thinking about how this was necessarily going to affect everyone else. It's their bottom line. And you need to be in charge of your own bottom line. And you need to be thinking, how am I going to make sure that I can at least make myself the most important person and that I can depend on myself? Because it was like looking for other people, looking for outside sources was really what all of us wound up having to do. So you come together in a lot of ways, and a lot of people break apart. And this was just a little thing about perseverance and believing that you're going to be able to get past where you're at. And it was hard. It was hard not knowing.
What helped you? What were some of the little things that helped you? In addition to taking initiative, organizing, everyone to get a union in so that there are better conditions and better pay at work. That was one thing you did, which is great. Again, you use yourself, which is your greatest resource. But what were and you also received support from your parents.
Yeah.
But what were some of the other little things you did that helped you get by, as far as food, shelter, just to survive on very little at the time? What helped you? What were some of the little things?
I'm telling you, it was honestly just friends and people who are understanding. But
And you also mentioned you had a side hustle.
I had side hustle, but I also was
which was comedy.
Yeah, I was
legal side hustle. He was doing the right thing.
And it was it was that, but it was also just knowing that like I wasn't gonna wallow in this, and I wasn't going to, I would feel bad, but then I'd make sure that I got past whatever I was doing to kind of grind it out with everything else I was doing. So I just knew I needed to get 4 things done today to make up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically just, continue to persevere and not let the negative situation get the best of you, and realize that there are other opportunities. And like you mentioned, reaching out to other people who are doing more and who are reaching out, seeing what they're doing and how they're able to get help, if that's one way you want to do it. I'll also list resources down below that you can check out. And as you mentioned earlier, temp agencies, that may be a faster way for you to be able to get short-term work and get work right away.
I learned to be annoying.
You learned to be annoying.
Yeah, because of places like I said, places like the airport, places like the post office, places like whatever the transportation agency is in your city, MTA, SEPTA for us in Philly. It was just places like that. They have a revolving door. They have a large workforce. You got a cousin or a friend or somebody that is in there, hound them, because it's your life at this point. And if they can't see that, then you got to move on. The same way that my job didn't recognize that they were putting our lives at risk
by paying you very little. Less than what you deserve. This is a living
wage, and you're saying by paying us less than this, you're saying you don't care whether we live or die.
Yeah.
You don't care. So, if you don't care, I'm not going to die because y'all aren't paying me. This is not I'm not going to accept this. So, but it really is about just finding something to do every day to keep your nose above the waterline. Because if you don't, you'll wind up finding out that you
keep going.
Yeah, just
and
finding a way to get air.
Don't be afraid to reach out for help when you need it as well. Again, I'll have resources down below. And also making use of skills in addition to checking out the places you mentioned, temp agencies, but also skills that you might have that other people may need, like writing, painting you mentioned, cleaning, organizing, editing, drawing, video, and you were doing comedy work. There's dog walking.
Comedians are dog walkers. That's the thing.
They are?
Every comedian, when they move to New York, is picking up dog poop. It's what it is. At some point, you're cleaning up poop. I moved to New York and I was cleaning toilets for a little bit. Like, it's nothing. It's really. I've worked the most menial jobs for my craft, but also out of necessity, because it's like, it's no shame in doing what you gotta do. It's really no shame in that. There's honor in all labor, and you gotta bite the bullet sometimes. But what else are you gonna do? What is the opposite? Because if the opposite and the alternative is nothing and just wasting away, I mean, what kind of life is that? So. I mean,
we're getting frustrated.
Yeah, and that was the main thing for me. Why I said I had to find little other things to do with my craft. You'll be amazed at what skills and what crafts you actually can hone and actually do have within you. Because otherwise, you'll just sit in a ball, tight and angry, and feeling like everything is hopeless. And I mean, it can be like that. And a lot of days are worse than others. And then sometimes things happen where you lose money. And you couldn't afford to lose that $30, and you needed it. But it's every day is a new hustle, a new challenge, a new way for you to put whatever you got to the test. And that was really one of the main things. Before I started asking for help from my parents, like, my parents didn't even know what was going on, because I was a little embarrassed, but I was a little like, I didn't want them thinking less, or like, oh, well, see, this is what we're talking about, this is why you need to be doing. I just had to figure out things on my own, and when it came down to it and I had to break it to them what was going on, they understood, and they were actually a little like, oh, you did all this by yourself? So
you were already making efforts to improve your situation, or to reach out and get the help that you needed. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. And you mentioned you learned a lot about managing money because you were put in a situation where you were making so little that you had to live off of.
I developed a system for how to save. Well, not any more than I already did, but it was like I really have to abide by it now. And the system was helpful. No lie. It didn't make me any more money than I would have been making. It didn't, but it just stopped me from having to spend so much because sometimes saving money is just about being conscious of how much you're spending.
So cutting down on spending, that's the biggest tip you can give as far as saving money and making the most of what you do have. Just cut down on how much you're spending. Find ways to do that, whether it's through food or, not going out to eat as much. Or
buying in bulk. Buying in bulk helped me a lot because...
Buying a lot of food in big amounts.
Or just basic foods. Little things like that where you're buying them in so much quantity that, you don't know when the next time you get paid, but you'll be good. This will tide you over until your next check, or that temp agency sends you to your next job, or that person that owes you a little bit of money, or that job you did for someone, they pay you back, and they're little things like that when you have money coming in, or when you're on a little job, a little hustle, that Friday I'm gonna get this, so all right, let me buy this now, and I won't have any money for the next couple days, but I'll be able to eat. I have my soap, my lotion, you know what I'm saying? I have all that.
Basic necessities and not getting things that you don't really need. And cutting down on spending, and so that also meant that you couldn't buy fast food. You had to buy basic foods and cook on your own, maybe? That was a way to save?
I did, but
cutting down on fast foods
unfortunately, fast food is cheap because of people in the position I was in. And it's for people who don't have a lot of money sometimes.
It's not healthy.
It's not healthy, but sometimes most of the time eating healthy is more expensive. However,
not necessarily.
When you're buying some of the things that are actually healthy and not the genetically modified, all those things, it gets a little hectic.
If you're living on basics like fruits and vegetables, then it's not.
Oh, no. Yeah, produce is that. Yeah, absolutely. So
focusing on the basic foods.
Absolutely.
And not so many packaged items, but like things like fruits and vegetables and,
You're going to need that.
And preparing your own foods, that's a great way to save money and eat healthy at the same time. But my last question for you. Okay. Because I know you got to go, it's getting late. Yeah. Someone looking at you right now probably thinking, you know what, I'm in that situation right now. I'm in a job where they're paying me less than what I can live on. And it's frustrating. What do you have to say to somebody like that right now in that position? What advice would you give to help keep them going?
You really got to look to yourself, because you're at that job, you got that job, and you were depending on yourself. Now you're really going to have to do it. Like, it's not words anymore. So you're going to have to really sit down, maybe write down the things you're good at, write down some of your goals, your short-term things. You're really going to have to sit down and have a real conversation with yourself, and B, you're going to have to set more goals in the short term for what your situation is. And the biggest thing is knowing and believing that you're going to get past this. And I think I said that already, but it really did help me, because I knew I never let myself go, this is it, this is what it is. I said, this is my job doing this. This is not an indication of my inadequacy. This is not, reflective of my inabilities. This is something outside of me creating my circumstance. So your circumstance will not always be the same. So you need to be able to find out how you can A, rise above it, or B, work within it so that you don't get swallowed up by what's happening. So I'm not going to say just think positive, because it's not just
It's not easy to just think positive, and that doesn't go very far for very long.
Stimulation can help you think positive. You've never thought of it all. You've never thought of it all. And you just got to keep thinking about what else there is to get out of this. What other jobs there are, what other things you're doing, what other people that you know. And it's just a matter of really just it's like axing, grinding away at it. Like
one day at a time.
Absolutely.
And little by little, you can get through it. So again, I'll list resources for you. Thank you so much, Bryan.
No problem.
Until next time, I'm Rosemary, and as I said, this is Bryan. I hope you found this video inspiring, and I hope that it brings you closer to becoming the very best that you can be. Don't give up, and never stop believing. Take care.